Just want to welcome you to the show. Grant, are you there?
Yeah, Mark, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank
Mark,
you
we
so
good?
much for finding a few minutes to be on the show. I know how busy you are.
Yes, sir. Well, appreciate the nice introduction. You should have just said, "Hey, the guy's just basically an overall bad dude."
He's kicking butt and taking names. That's what I should have said.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I just love hearing your voice again. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Grant and then seeing him on stage, and I've had a chance to look through his book, and I've just been so impressed. And now, Grant, a little bit more about you for our listeners. You're down in Florida, living the dream. You kind of escaped out of New York. Is it Escape out of L.A.? Which movie is it? I'm not sure, but you got out of California and you're down in Florida enjoying the sunshine.
Yeah, I'm down in Miami. I did what Phil Mickelson should have done already. Because I left LA because the taxes just got crazy. It got crazy on my people, got crazy on my company, and we left there about 6 months ago after living in Los Angeles or in California for 22 years. I had built 5 businesses there, loved California, but it just came prohibitive for me to continue to grow my businesses and just award the state with the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, it is really sad. I just had a conference call yesterday. I even told my wife at dinner last night, I told her, I had the most depressing phone call with a client today. They have a home in San Francisco and one in L.A., and they're making good money. But they've got expenses. Everybody seems to spend to their income level. So it's funny. The multi-millionaires still seem to try to be making ends meet, but the taxes, when I had to tell them how much they're paying in federal and state and Obamacare, you could have heard a pin drop on the phone. It was just really depressing. But you're out of there. You're loving it. You're in.
Well, we were out of there, and we made a decision. It wasn't a comfortable decision because I'd been there so long. I had friends there, family there, and my businesses were basically founded and were doing extremely well there. So it wasn't an easy decision, but it's something that all of America needs to be considering. Where when I leave there and I don't pay taxes in this state where I'm at in Florida, I'm saving 13% on my revenue. It's 13%. I get a pay raise, and it's a huge amount of money. And if you're going to work every day and you're putting your money at risk and you're trying to build a business every day, you're doing it because you want to create some kind of financial freedom in the future. And when you start talking about 10, 11, 12, 13%, it's a tremendous amount of money. And people need to be willing to be, one, nimble, and be, number 2, do the difficult things in order to create financial solvency for yourself.
Yeah, no, great comment. And, it's plus you're a lot closer to those good Cuban sandwiches right down there on Miami Beach, which, that right there, that's living the dream. So let me ask you, I want to get into your book. Boy, you have so much material. We're only with you for just a short little while today, and I know many of my listeners are going to look into more of your information. But first, I wanted to talk about your the TV show experience you had, and what that was like, and that's of course mesmerizing for a lot of Americans to think, wow, how do you get to the point of having your own TV show, and what a neat show about helping businesses turn around. I wanted to ask you, what did you learn from that experience yourself? I mean, what was maybe some of the things that you didn't expect to learn and you came out of that with?
Well, that's a great question. The number one thing that I learned was that most businesses, and I've been doing turnaround kind of situations, consulting businesses for 25 years, but it really became very clear very quickly when we did the TV show that most companies do not know what their real problem is. It was interesting how many different companies we interviewed for the show and then went into, and senior management did not. They had a whole list of problems, but the truth is most of these companies have one major problem, and they're unable to identify it.
Now, is that major problem, in your opinion, just creating more income, that sales? Are you leaning towards that sales being a key problem, or you're just saying the problems could vary?
No. You're good point. What we found out was that revenue was the single consistent problem with every company we went into. The creation of revenue. However, senior management seemed to blame a lot of other things: politics, the economy, competition, shrinking margins, people. We heard people a lot. Can't get the right people. I can't get people to do things. They're difficult to manage. We can't hire good people. We heard a lot of that stuff. We heard regulations. But the reality is, the one thing we found that would solve all those problems was creating enough revenue for the company. Revenue solves all problems. It is the God of, if economies were a world, revenue is the God of the economy.
Without revenue, it's not happening. Now, did people receive that well? When you try to explain to them, no, all these things are distractions. You need to create more revenue, and if we can focus on that, you'll turn around. Hence the turnaround.
The moment we confronted that, the moment we confronted that issue, that look, I'm not here to talk government or politics, or I can't change the regulations. I just look at what I can handle, what I can turn around, and what I can't. I can't solve the people problem in New Jersey or Tennessee or California. So what can I solve? Look, I can create revenue today. And then they're looking at you like, well, dude, you can't do that because I got 70 competitors that will undersell me. And then I pick up a telephone or I start visiting businesses and they see me start generating revenue within 20 minutes of being there. Significant revenue within 20 or 30 minutes of being there. Then everybody's like, oh my gosh. Everybody gets excited because they're like, oh my gosh, what's the potential here? Now, keep in mind, Mark, we weren't going in and just painting the place or changing the furniture like you see on so many of these turnaround shows, where they go into the salon and they just take out all the bad equipment and put in new equipment. That does not drive revenue. You got to go get revenue. This is the single biggest problem in America today for 28 million small businesses. How do I go get more revenue in a marketplace that's extremely competitive, lots of uncertainty, and people have very little money?
Now, how many of those situations are, and you refer to this and you talk about it a lot in your new book, The 10X Rule, where folks they're really stuck in mediocrity and they don't know how to motivate themselves? Is it how much of it is motivation and how much of it is they just don't know how to get it, like a lack of knowledge?
Well, look. If you've had your brains beat out for 10 rounds, you're not going to be motivated to go to the 11th round. That's what's happened to the middle class. It is demotivated based on the experiences it's had over the last many years. So when you see a middle class shrinking like we have in the United States, you have people going into apathy right now. You have people literally getting beat into submission and not willing to get back into the ring. So the first thing, I'm not trying to motivate anybody. I'm just trying to show them, watch this, okay? When they see something happen, the first response will probably be, depending on how beat down they are, will probably be, oh, well, you just got lucky. But when they see it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, then they're going to either hate my guts, okay, because I'm real lucky, or they're going to be like, oh my gosh, maybe we've actually we've missed the mark on what the possibilities are here, and that's where the real hope comes in. And then we hear people say, can you teach me that? Can you show me how to do that? I just saw you do that with my own customers in my own market, and I saw people do things that I thought they wouldn't do, which is pay them money. And that's what the 10X rule is about. It's about a different level of think. It's about a different level of action. It's about showing people that only one activity level works today, which is massive amounts of push or activity into a sector in order to get anything to happen.
Now, this massive action, is it a technical situation of just do this or do that? But it sounds like more than that. It sounds like a change of mindset where you get up every day and you're just more tenacious. You're just more ravenous about it, and you believe that it's going to actually happen. Is that?
No, it's not. It's not a faith-based. This isn't a religion, Mark.
No, I didn't mean to get to. No, but I mean, like you're getting up and you're like, I can do it. They just.
No.
I don't know.
No, because you see, that's not gonna. Yeah, that's not going to last very long. Okay, so one of the things I talk about in the 10X rule is, look, there's 4 levels of action. One is you don't do anything. Lots of people actually do that. Number two is you retreat. Many people are retreating, okay? Maybe they'll never buy a home again is a perfect example of a retreat. Or I invested money in the stock market. I got beat up in the stock markets. I'm never ever going to invest in the stock market, you know? So that's what's called retreat. The guy's backing up. The third level of activity is average. Average is what most people do every day. It's what, you know, millions and millions of workers do every day. They go to work and they do their 8 to 5 or their 9 to 6. They do whatever their post or their job requires of them, but they don't do anything extra. And then there's this massive level. If you study the most successful people in business and finances and in athletics or sports, you're going to see that these people operate at this fourth level called massive action, where they're creating new problems for themselves, not old problems. Average of the four different actions, average is the most dangerous. It is lethal to people and small businesses because it's acceptable. It's an acceptable level of activity. Everybody agrees that not doing anything and retreating is not good. But average is acceptable. So your buddies, your coworkers, your boss, even your manager might be like, oh, he's all right, leave him alone. This is where companies miss it big time. That's who you want to push into these massive amounts of activity levels. So if you think 10 calls is enough, in this economy, multiply everything you want times 10, and then you will know what massive is.
Now, so if it's not just a change of attitude, which is a part of it, but if that's not the primary procedure to get to this next level, what are some of the actions people need to take? Is it getting more done in a day? What are some of the things you teach? I know you do some online workshops, and we want to hear about how to get more of that too. But
yeah.
I mean, what are you teaching people? What are some of those quote unquote actions people need to do tomorrow? Then what do they do? Send out more letters? Send out more emails?
Yeah, well, the first thing, you know, when you and I spoke at Entrepreneur Magazine, my emphasis at that workshop in Denver to the 1,200 entrepreneurs there was, look, obscurity is the number one problem everyone has. Every business, every unemployed person, everybody that wants to get a raise. I mean, depending on what you want in your life, you know, obscurity is your problem. If people don't know you, they're not going to support you. If people don't know you, they're not going to buy from you. If people don't know you, they're not going to go out with you. If people don't know you, they're not going to follow you on Twitter. So, you know, you have so many mechanisms today to break this first problem. People do not have a money problem. They have an obscurity problem. I don't know who you are, so I can't buy your product or service no matter how good it is. So the first thing we're going to do in a company is we're going to be like, let's just break this obscurity, not knowing you problem. The company, the pizza company that nobody knows. They know Domino's, but I don't know, you know, Sammy's Pizza, the best pizza in the town. So I'm saying, look, when you wake up in the morning, you have to get people to know you, to be talking about you, and to keep talking about you if you have any chance at success.
I really love what you just said there, because you took it from a kind of a rah moment of, yeah, you need more massive action. And like you said, that may work for 1 day or 5 days or 5 months, but then at some point you're going to get sick of waking up every day doing high fives with your team and not accomplish anything. But I like what you said, that one of those first steps is practical steps that make you less obscure, which I know you in the sales training world, there's all sorts of things. What are some of the things you tell people to get to create? I mean, just on, I know there's so many levels to your book here too, but sticking with obscurity for a minute, how do you pull people out of obscurity? I guess it's a combination of all sorts of things.
Yeah, for instance, my wife is a TV actress, okay? And she came back from an audition one day. This was in 2010, I think. And she said, you know, man, she was on a bad audition. I don't know if she did bad or the people in the room, you know, were not acknowledging or whatever the case was. But I said, you know, your business sucks. Your business sucks. I said, because you don't control your business. And she's like, you don't understand. You don't know how hard it is. Los Angeles, Hollywood, actors. I said, look, baby, you know what? I'm going to get a TV show. I'm going to show you that I can control my own situation here. I'm going to go out and get a TV show. Now, I don't know anybody in New York or LA. I don't have representation, agents, managers. I don't have any of that, right? But I'm convinced that if I can if I can, that's what the 10X rule is about. It's about how did I get a TV show when no one knew me? So I basically write in these 17 chapters how I'm breaking through this obscurity and getting known. The first thing I did was I dropped 900 videos onto YouTube. Cost me nothing. Some of them are grainy. There's different levels of quality. But I started producing massive amounts of content on YouTube to tell people who I am. And the goal here was to get not to drive money or have advertisements on YouTube. The goal was to solve my first problem, obscurity. When I did enough of that and I started formulating my message and who I am and branding myself, I get a phone call literally within a year of doing these videos. Hey, we saw a video of yours on YouTube and we're interested in doing a TV show around you. Okay, well now you've solved, I don't know how much time you have for this, but now we've solved the obscurity problem. They know me, but now I'm into a completely different arena which is selling. Because obscurity won't give you money. You still got to sell and close the deal. So these people called from New York and said, hey, we saw you on YouTube. We want to do a TV show around a person like you. And I'm like, well, where are you located in New York? And they said, we're on 62nd Street. And I'm like, I'm going to be on 60th Street on Thursday. This was on Tuesday. I'll be there in 2 days. And they're like, are you kidding? I said, no, I'm going to be there in 2 days. Now I'm moving obscurity to how close can I get to them. People need to get aggressive right now. That's what I did in this phone call, and that's exactly how I got a TV show. I pushed the project forward by being sold that I'm the right person, by doing the activity levels every day, but also knowing what is it that I want. What is the product I want to create? You know, if you're selling pizzas or you're selling cupcakes or you're a beauty salon, what is it you're trying to push forward? Most people are going to work every day and they don't know what they want. I knew I wanted a TV show. So if you want that, if you know what you want, solve the obscurity problem. Once you do, then you have to put all your attention on selling and closing that transaction.
Now, earlier in your career, you've written several books on the sales topic: Sell to Survive, The Closer's Survival Guide. I suppose I'm changing a little bit of the tone here, but this appears to be some people's problem as well. They may be good at getting the word out, but when they have to get in front of someone and actually close, it can be difficult. And Grant, you'd love this story because I know you talk a lot about your kids. Let me just share this real quick. One of my children, if I have to go force them to go talk to someone, they hate it. You know, they're never going to be a closer in their life because they avoid conversations with people. Maybe it's the accountant in me that they that little gene of being an accountant, it just got exemplified in their life. But then I have this other child who she started her own little clothing business. And just the other night, it was like 2 nights ago, she's like, hey, Dad, will you drive me down to Starbucks? I got to meet someone to sell them some clothes, and they're going to give me some money. And I go, well, who are they? She goes, I don't know. It was a girl on Instagram that likes my clothes that I'm selling, and I'm like, you're just going to meet her and just take her money. She's like, yeah, I'm just going to close the deal. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I just wanted to cry. I was so pumped. But some people are just not closers.
Dude, but you know what? Here's the deal, okay? Yeah, one of your kids is going to be rich and the other one isn't. I mean, unless the second one's going to marry the money, you know, the one out. Look, the economy we're in today, because Mark, people do not have they're not going to have the opportunities that me and you had. That there was just a middle class sitting there for the last 20 years that everybody could kind of sit around and flop in like a big swimming pool and have their weekend. Dude, that middle class is getting freaking hammered, beat to death. It's shrinking, and no government, no politics can change that. The middle class is built on a formula that no longer works, and that formula is called average. People cannot maintain. You will not stay in the middle class or a comfortable middle class if you just keep going to work. Or if you just show up and you're like, oh, I'm just going to do, I hear these motivational guys talk all the time about, you know, find out what you love to do and you'll be successful. That is so much garbage. That is such a false premise. I do stuff I don't like to do every day. And people need to understand we're in a new economy now. And you know, it's new. It's a world economy. You have pressure from everywhere. Technology, it's not how big you are anymore, it's how fast you are. Technology's hot one day and gone the next. So I mean, I could sit here. Yeah.
Dude, I just want to just echo what you just before you change topics here again. I thought that was very important what you just said too. There's a family member in our extended family that said something interesting over the holidays. You know, he's kind of been, you know, floating around, really hasn't found himself yet financially, and he said, "Well, I'm looking for that job I just love to go to every day." I'm like, "Well, hey, when you find it, let me know, because you know, taking care, you know, working hard and making a living is not 100% every day complete satisfaction. You've got to just go and realize this is a means to an end of being able to do the things you like. But you've got to take action. You just got to get out there and do it."
Yeah. Look, you're going to love the job you're at when you get successful at it.
Ooh. Say that again. I love that, what you just said.
You're going to love the job you're at when you're finally successful at it. People need to learn how to swallow at the job they're at. You got to learn how to get great at something, otherwise you will never like it. Nobody likes anything they're average at. This is a spiritual condition. And no matter if you're agnostic or atheist, look, you still hate average. So the Catholic, the Protestant, the Jews, the atheist, the agnostic, the lost people, whatever, do they all know this? Average is average. It's an epidemic in this country, and it makes people sick. Nobody likes it. Nobody enjoys it. Too many managers allow it. Too many owners encourage it. And everybody in America needs to get, if you want something on this planet today, you have to give up this addiction and acceptance of average. Get great at what you do and you will love your job. I don't care what it is. You could be, if you're a great sweeper, you will love sweeping. You'll probably end up building a business around it.
I love it. Now let me bring up this word just because I know you address it in many of your books and presentations, and I apologize, but I want to get as practical as possible too. It's a trademark of my show here. But fear plays into this. You know, people are afraid to succeed, afraid of money sometimes. They're afraid of talking to people. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid. How do you teach someone to just let that go?
Well, I don't. I tell people, I asked a guy the other day, I said, "You scared?" He's like, "No." I said, "Well, you should be." I said, "Bro, if you're not scared, you're not doing anything new." I'm scared all the time. I don't know what the big deal is. You should be scared. If you're not scared, you're in waters that are way too safe.
I like that. Kind of turn it on its head. Say if you're.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of it. Why would I want to get rid of fear, man? I actually use fear. If there's somebody I'm scared to meet, then I have to go meet them. The woman I'm married to wouldn't go out with me for 13 months because she wanted to be married to somebody, one of the guys in Aerostar or Aerosmith or whatever, you know. She wouldn't go out with me. I was scared to death to approach her. I was scared for a year, 13 months that I kept contacting her. Every time I called her, I was scared. So be scared, man. The best clients your business will ever have come from fear. It's the guy you're scared to call on. The company with the money, everybody's scared to call on that guy.
Can you tell us your story just briefly of your daughter on the airplane? I thought that was so insightful of teaching. You know, I teach a lot about passing on these concepts to our grandchildren, our children, our family members. How did you mind sharing that story about your daughter?
Well, we're coming from Venezuela maybe 4 weeks ago, and I'm flying in. My daughter's 3 years old. My wife is sitting 3 or 4 seats behind me. She's got the 1-year-old. I got the 3-year-old. My little girl's like, "Papa, I want some cookies." And I'm like, "Baby, you want some cookies? Do I look like the Cookie Monster to you?" I don't have any cookies, you know? And she's like, "Well, who's got the cookies?" I said, "Well, flight attendant's probably got some cookies. Why don't you go work him?" So she gets out of her chair. I teach her to talk to strangers and actually give her stars and rewards for it. And so she goes up to the flight attendant and says, "Mister, you got some cookies?" She's 3 years old, Mark, okay? And he's like, no, I don't have any cookies. And she says, check, because I taught her this. I'm like, look at me. I don't have anything to give you. You know, you got to go get it from other people. And so she's like, check. And the man turns around, he checks, he finds some cookies. She brings me the cookies back. Papa, can I eat these cookies? And I'm like, baby, if you can get them, you can eat them. But give me one because that's my finder's fee. So she eats the cookies. She's got little green cookies all over because they're from South America. It's a weird little cookie, but they were tasty. And she says, Papa, I want some more cookies. I'm like, baby, I don't have the cookies. You know, go back and hit that man up. He's probably good for some more cookies. She gets up, asks the man, you got more cookies? No, I don't. Check. And he's like, I already did. I don't have any more cookies. And she's like, who's got the cookies? And he said, maybe the 2 flight attendants in the back of the plane. She walks 32 rows, comes back with 4 little boxes of cookies, and says, Papa, can I have these cookies?
I love it.
And that's the thing that we need to teach our kids to do. You got to talk to strangers. Look, it's not comfortable for me. I'm 55 years old. I've been in sales since I was 20 years old. It has been uncomfortable for me to talk to people for 35 years at least. I speak to audiences today. It's still uncomfortable. So what? What's that got to do with it? You need to do the things you don't want to do. That's where the payoff is.
And that's the massive action. I just love that story of your daughter showing massive action. She's like, why sit here and be depressed that I don't have cookies? I'm going to walk 32 rows back, talk to 2 people I don't know, and ask them for cookies and get the reward.
But she's been taught how to do that. She's been rewarded for doing that since she was, literally like I've been showing her how to talk to strangers since she was 6 months old. So, and that's what people need to do with their employees, the people in their business. They need to press people to do the things they're uncomfortable with right now. Demand that people do something above average.
Well, could you share just for a moment one of the books that I thought was really just insightful of yours? And I know you have so much content, just like you. I can see you shooting 900 YouTube videos because you've got so much content and stories and principles. Can you share something from the Closer Survival Guide? What maybe just a trick or two on closing in our last?
Yeah, that book is basically the premise of the book is built on that selling is not closing. This has been a misnomer made by some of the really great people on stage that I followed, but that have mentored me in the past, that they combined this concept of selling, negotiating, and closing into one book, and it should not be. Closing's a transaction. Getting someone to agree to do something, getting somebody to exchange money or some commitment for your product or service is completely different than selling. And I've been in front of probably hundreds of thousands of salespeople. A very, very small percentage, way less than 1%, even know this. That selling is not closing. Closing is where you quit selling, you quit building value, you quit talking about your product, you quit making sense of the product, and you now only make sense of the decision. And this is it's not a secret, but it is something that is out of sight for most people. Because I know people that know how to sell and communicate and talk to people and build rapport and get on common ground and have no clue how to close a transaction.
I remember, and we just have a minute left, and I want to hear about, can get more to you about more of you. But I loved your story of going to the store and trying to buy a drill, and the guy was just continuing to sell you, and you're like, let me just pay you, just get out of my face, and the guy just was like trying to continue to sell, and we can sometimes oversell people. We need to just ask for the money and move on sometimes, and I thought that was so insightful. Well, Grant, how do we get more of you? What are some resources you could tell our listeners that if they were inspired by any of this, where do they go?
Well, you could follow me on Twitter at Grant Cardone. I drop nuggets of data there all day long. You can also go to cardonesuccess.com, and your listeners can sign up for my weekly newsletter. It'll be free to them. It's cardonesuccess.com. You'll get it every week. It's about how to grow your business.
Okay, and folks, if you're a listener of mine, I'll put that on my newsletter next week as this show will be recorded and disseminated to thousands across the country. I'll put
millions.
A link to millions. There we go. 10x. So I'll put your website out there. Grant, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We really appreciate your time. We know how valuable it is, your family time. Thank you so much.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.